The Deep Six. 6 stories from your world in 30 minutes or less. Hosted by Patty Steele and Steve Cochran. The Deep Six is on.
The most fun you can have all week is get one of your best friends ever and do 6 topics. 2 friends, 6 topics. And do it 30 minutes or so.
Does that mean that I, Patty Steele, am one of your best friends?
Ever.
We're like BFFs forever. I love that. Oh, my God.
Well, thank you.
I'm honored. Okay, that's enough for the show. Bye.
Bye. We don't want to blow this
Wait,
moment.
who are you?
Yes, I'm Bob. I'm Steve Cochran in Chicago and heard mornings on the Big 890 WLS. I bet I can hear you on the radio.
Yes, you can at WCBS FM 101.1 in New York City with the esteemed Scott Shannon.
Yes, I got his esteemed right here. All right, so here's the deal. We're going to jump right in with show business, entertainment. We usually lead off with this. This is topic number 1.
The Deep Six. Story number 1.
I'd love to have something new I can watch. What can you tell me?
Well, I've got something new you can watch and listen to. Not promising you're going to love them, but whatever. I'll tell you about them. First of all, Hillary Clinton has a new show debuting September 9th on Apple TV. It's called Gutsy. I love that name. And
Gutsy, why? What's the premise?
Well, she and her daughter, Chelsea, travel all over the U.S. talking to gutsy women. Now, I will say this. Most of the gutsy women they talk to are people like Goldie Hawn, Kim Kardashian, Jane Goodall, and Megan Thee Stallion. So gutsy is, as long as you're a star, you're gutsy.
Well, Jane Goodall, that's fine with me.
Yeah, although she's kind of a star. She's like an animal star, but she's a star. And in the trailer, she happens to be talking to a gutsy woman who isn't a star. She's a chaplain. And she says to Hillary, and I think this was gutsy of her. She says, honestly, you have a marriage that's been on public display for a long time. And you once said the gutsiest thing you ever did was stay in your marriage. Now, of course, we all know Hillary's been married to Bill Clinton for like 50 years or almost 50 years.
Yep.
And she stood by him through many affairs. And obviously, notably Monica Lewinsky. And she said, yeah, staying with him was really gutsy. But I like that she said this. She said, you know what? That doesn't mean that's right for everybody.
Yeah, no, that's true. But I'd be curious what you think of that, because I can give you the male perspective on it. And the male perspective on it is, I maybe there's not a soulmate,
right?
Maybe that's a false premise. But if you really love somebody and they do something really stupid, and you want to save the union or whatever it may be, you have to do 2 things. You got to be able to forgive. You're never going to forget,
right?
But along with forgiving, you've got to be able to move forward in a healthy way, not for him or her, for you. And the question you have to ask yourself is, can I live in this relationship and be healthy?
Okay, here's my question. So you decide, you make that choice. So somebody does that and you make the choice to stay, but then they do it again and again. And again, and then again. And then they publicly humiliate you as the president, the arguably the biggest, most powerful man in the world. And you got somebody under your desk. And is that something that no matter what goes on, you never say, enough is enough. I got to love me and I got to respect me. And I think you hit on it.
I think you hit on it. Do you love yourself enough to get out? And what's the line between gutsy and stupid?
And then the other part of that equation is what really makes a great relationship, a great marriage relationship. Is it sex? I think we all know, if you've been married for longer than, 6 months, that the sex part kind of calms down.
Yep.
So maybe you decide this person is a life partner for me. I understand him. He understands me. And I'm going to let him or her do this other thing that kind of just satisfies them, as long as the crux of the relationship stays true. I don't know that I could do that, very honestly, but there you have it. That's
well, but then there's also the argument with those two. I personally think Bill Clinton's one of the smartest people to ever be in the White House. I also think he's one of the dumbest people ever to be in the White House because he blew his presidency. Poor choice of words
I'm glad
on my part.
You paused after blue.
It really was a poor choice of words. He could have been remembered probably as one of the greats if he kept his pants on.
Yeah.
And let's be honest here, as president of the United States, most of them at one point or another have strayed. None of them were caught in as spectacular a fashion as Bill Clinton, who took advantage of Monica Lewinsky. And the interesting thing to me, which is why I brought it up to you for female perspective on this, I remember vividly men being just over the top pissed off at Bill Clinton. And my friends, me certainly, other men all said, he's got to go. He's got to go.
Why?
Because you have violated what we believe the higher standard should be for the president of the United States for two reasons. One, I mean, you can have sex with anybody you want to have sex with. And frankly, the president of the United States have plenty of people around him to arrange for any number of things, including sex with people that aren't your wife, getting top secret documents to the pool house. There's a lot of things that you can get done.
Right.
You don't need to do what he did, and you don't need to. And this is more important. Take advantage of someone young enough to be your daughter. Now, you may say Monica was a big girl. She was an adult.
Yes.
At 21, 22, whatever she was. And he's the president of the United States. Nope. Sorry. Yeah. He's the wrong one here. And she's had to live her entire life with the consequences. And he's never fully let her off the hook.
Yeah, no. And I think his legacy is what he's had to pay the consequences with his legacy. Because I think you're right. I think there were many, many great things about him, but that definitely diminished him as a memorable president.
So maybe, maybe that's never going to happen. But how fascinating would it be if Hillary interviewed someone truly gutsy, Monica Lewinsky, who has lived her life in this shadow?
Wow, what a great idea. We got to call the producer.
I'll call Hillary, and I'm sure she'll just go, yeah, no, why wouldn't
I got to tell you, it's on Apple TV. Apple, if you're listening, which I'm sadly saying you're probably not, but if
they're big fans of us.
That would be the ultimate. And that would, how many people would tune in for that? That would be huge.
All right. Now tell me something about a royal couple.
Well, speaking of people tuning in, Meghan Markle, as you know, she and Harry signed a $25 million podcast deal, much like our podcast deal, minus the 25 million.
Yeah, we're just short of it.
They did it with Spotify a couple of years ago and never put anything out. Well, they finally put out a podcast in the past week or two, and but it was only Meghan. And she said, this is going to be a series where we dissect, explore, and subvert the labels that try to hold women back. So her first guest was Serena Williams. Unfortunately, critics not too happy. Said one, it was almost entirely, you can tell this is British, it was almost entirely preposterous. And just another way that she can talk about herself. Another person said, a critic, it was clearly an opportunity for Meghan to interview herself.
Wow.
Another one said the Duchess seems like the sort of person who hijacks every distressing antidote that you tell with one of their own, only theirs is much longer and more distressing.
Well, we all know somebody like that, right?
Well, that's exactly it. That's what they said. They said, we all know somebody who will, you tell them a story and they go, oh, that's nothing. Listen to this.
Right.
And put you to sleep. And what was interesting in that first one is during the chat, Prince Harry did drop in, apparently unexpected. And Meghan says, oh, look who just popped in. You want to come say hi? Yeah. And that was kind of the most of it. And now this week.
She sounds kind of desperate.
Yeah, it kind of feels like that a little bit, right? She's doing an interview with Mariah Carey. And the thing is everybody you're going to interview is like, here's this, world-class tennis player, world-class voice. Is it always going to be about you? Or are you always going to bring it back to, well, here's the thing about me.
Yeah. I mean, I would want someone like Meghan Markle who came from obscurity to marry the prince to interview people who are from the regular world.
Right.
And it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case.
Yeah. If you're going to interview, people who, and really take a deep dive into somebody's life and how they have moved from point A to point B to C, it doesn't always have to be a superstar.
Why not a chimney sweep like Dick Van Dyke?
Yeah, okay, there's that.
All right, speaking of desperate, what can you tell me about Will Smith?
Oh my God, exactly. If she sounds desperate, he sounds extra desperate. Now, we know that he had that whole dust up with Chris Rock at the Oscars where he...
little dust up, biggest night of his life, go up on stage, slap Chris Rock across the face, ruin his Oscars evening, ruin the Oscars, frankly, for most people.
And he's been dropped. He's been dropped from the Academy for forever, I think. Right.
And I would argue that you're not going to be able to go to a Will Smith movie ever again and not think about that.
Right. Of course.
In fact, if people will make movies with him.
So he's kind of desperate to turn that around. So first, as we remember, maybe maybe a month ago, he did this tearful, but he puts it out on social media, this tearful apology. Oh man, I wish you would talk to me and I love you. And I'm so sorry for what I did. That's not the kind of man I would like to be. And I'm going to fix that and blah, blah, blah. And whatever. Nobody really, Chris Rock didn't really respond to that. Most people didn't respond. So then he put out this thing on social media, in the last week or so. He said, hey, it's me trying to get back on social media. And he had a video of a baby gorilla poking an adult gorilla on the back and then running away. And then he pokes the adult again and he gets chased. And everybody's like, okay, yeah, here you are. And then the next day, he put out a video of him trapping a big giant spider under a glass. It was like a tarantula in his house. Now, here's the thing. Will Smith lives in like a $40 million, $50 million house.
Why would he have a tarantula in his house?
He's got tons of people there. My bet
he's probably got a tarantula guy whose job is to keep tarantulas out of his house.
Well, better yet, he probably has a tarantula guy who got a tarantula for him and put it on the floor and said, okay, go over there and put a glass over it.
Yeah.
And, so he's just trying to get some attention for being a regular guy, even though he lives in this. Have you ever seen any pictures of his main house in Hollywood? in LA.
It's
whatever.
So nice that if I saw him, I'd go up and slap him.
It's crazy. It looks like you're at this fabulous high-end resort in Bali or someplace like that. It's crazy beautiful. So, and he and his son are chasing a spider around the kitchen. Kind of
Stop it. Just stop it. That's all. Stop it.
Exactly.
I have one more for you. Kim Kardashian says, after a long, long period of time, post Pete Davidson.
What, 3 weeks?
Yes, she's ready to date again. I actually have for your entertainment dollar here. I have Kim Kardashian's full dating history through Kanye and Pete. Ready?
Right. Go.
She eloped with Damon Thomas, who I've never heard of, music producer, worked with Babyface.
She eloped with him? She was married to him?
Yeah, she said she was high on ecstasy at the ceremony, and she got divorced shortly thereafter. Then, of course, you had the sex tape with Ray J.
Right.
Where mom said, hey, I think we might have some marketing here.
Oh, this is great, honey.
Right. Then I don't remember this. Nick Lachey. She was with Nick Lachey for a period of time.
Really?
Yeah, I don't remember that either.
No.
She was with Nick Cannon and didn't get pregnant. What? How could you be with Nick Cannon and not get pregnant?
Then that was just publicity because it's not possible. She
was then with former football player Reggie Bush.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, try to withhold comment. Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the greatest soccer players of all time.
I didn't know she was with him.
I didn't either. She was with Miles Austin. Miles Austin is an actor, right? Miles Austin?
I don't know that name, but that's okay. She was with him. Now he's a star.
Yeah, well, he's a good-looking dude.
Yeah.
As opposed to the hideous guy you'd expect her to be with. What am I talking about?
Because honestly, looks are the only thing that matter.
She was with One Tree Hill star Michael Copon. Copon? I had never heard of him.
Copon. No, I don't know that either.
She was with John Mayer. Get in line. Everybody in Hollywood's been with John Mayer, including me.
You know what? Those two are actually perfect together because everybody's been with him and everybody's been with her.
Right.
Wow.
Gabriel Aubry was another one of her regular squeezes. Halle Berry's ex, Gabriel Aubry.
Yeah, I do remember him. Good looking guy.
And then we get into the more modern history. Remember, she married the NBA goofball Chris Humphries. I think he played for the New Jersey Nets.
She married him. I didn't know she was married all these times.
Yep. Wow. And then you had Kanye. Mm-hmm. And then obviously Pete Davidson. Look, I'm ready to make an announcement if you're ready to take a note on this.
Yeah.
I have never had sex with Kim Kardashian. I'm saying it.
Oh, please.
I'm coming out with this. I'm telling you the truth. It's never happened. And I am the only man in America who has never had sex with Kim Kardashian.
Okay, I'm going to have to call her because I have a direct line to her. I'm going to have to call her because she will be like, what? I didn't screw with him? That makes no sense to me.
Go, how did I miss him?
How did I miss him? I'm headed to Chicago right now.
The Deep Six, number 2.
Speaking of women of her age, I think she's 40 or 41, allegedly.
Right.
And she said one of the reasons she was with Pete Davidson is because of his BDE.
Yes. Big dick energy. I can say that. I'm a woman.
Yes. And like I said, thank God America can rest easy. She's ready to date again. Yes. But you have scientific statistics here as we go to our science item on women and sex over 40. What can you tell me?
Well, this might explain why she is not married anymore. A new study says that women are less turned on by their husbands after the age of 40. But here's the weird part of that. A woman's libido stays very healthy well into her 80s. Now, this study, they took a look at 8,000 women.
Did you say 80s?
Yeah, well into their 80s. Women have a powerful libido.
Well, that's a well-kept secret.
Well, here's the question. Do men also have a powerful libido into their 80s or no?
Well, between their ears.
Well, not that you would know at this point, but
no, I'm not quite there yet. But between their ears, yeah, it's everything south of the equator that can become a problem.
See, we don't have that problem,
right?
But the researchers said after 40, women often have a lot of confidence and time to enjoy a more experimental and better sex life, while men don't see the need to change anything. So men kind of have this like, you know what, just let's do it. I'm done. And now I'm going to burp and go to sleep.
Hold still. This won't take long.
Yeah.
So men won't change up their act, their routine, their routine.
Yeah, exactly.
Before
Whereas
falling
women
asleep.
Get more experimental, believe it or not.
Wow.
There's a great movie on I think it was on Hulu called Good Luck to You, Leo Grant.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And I had no idea what to think about that movie.
I know it was a movie of a young man and an older woman. Yes.
Yeah, an older woman who had lived her whole life, and her husband had died, and she felt like she'd never experienced a satisfying sex life. And
specifically, she'd never had a great orgasm. Wasn't that the deal?
Right. It's Good Luck to You, Leo Grande. And so, so she hires this guy who is a sex worker, and it's Emma Thompson and then this young guy. And it really is a wonderful psychological look into what motivates us in life and what makes us feel things for other people. And so, I look at that story and I think that was the interesting thing. She had reached the age of 60 and she realized, I want to know what that's all about. And I never understood what it was all about. Even though I have children and I was married, I want to know what it's about. And I guess the thought is that women think about that and they get a little bit freer, especially because they can't get pregnant anymore, and they get a little more experimental, while men are just like, it is what it is, what it is. I'm going to do the same thing I always did until I can't do it anymore.
So you're telling me women are ever ready? See what I did there?
Yes.
Is this going to increase the battery business such that I know it?
Or the sex worker business. I don't know. But I
Yeah.
will tell you one thing. This is kind of interesting. There's a thing called the Journal of Sex Research. And I'm going
My
to get
subscription ran out.
I was just going to say, I'm going to get one too. They say that women are attracted to men who do chores. So if you feel like things are slowing down a little bit, you know what? Pick up the mop. Just go to town, baby. Because you never know. She might jump you, take you down to the floor, and you'll have to remop it all over again.
So just doing your small, insignificant part.
Yeah.
That could be enough to get it and get lucky.
Yeah. That guys that want to kind of share things around the house together, they say women feel like a more desire to hop into bed with them. Because
but only after they finish mopping.
Part of it is a sense of fairness, they said. You feel like, okay, you get me, you get that things need to be shared. And that's part of what satisfies us. And it's also part, they say, of our sexual desire. So,
all right, now let's call that the sex item. And let's go to item number 3. And let's call this the science and technology item, because I have for you,
yes,
the US map showing the average life expectancy for people in every single state. CDC released the annual report. Wow. Hawaii, once again, had the highest life expectancy. I mean, if you're in Hawaii, why would you die?
Right. Like you're going to do everything you can to stay alive and enjoy it. Mississippi
had the lowest life expectancy. A lot of this is related to quality of life, what you shove in your mouth, how much activity you get, moving around versus not moving around. It's kind of a fairly shocking disparity here. This is 2022 with all of modern medicine.
Yeah.
Hawaii's average life expectancy is 81.
Right.
Mississippi's average life expectancy is 71.
Really? There's that big a difference.
Which I was surprised by. I thought they'd be tenths of a point, that close all the way across the board.
Yeah. Wow. I do know here in New York, life expectancy on this list dropped by almost 2 years. And they said that was the biggest drop since World War II.
And it's a little tough here because we don't have full explanations as to why.
Well,
but
part of it has to do with the pandemic and we had just a crazy amount of COVID deaths here in New York. So that could be part of it. But they also say lifestyle is a contributing factor. And
being active and your emotional health, being happy.
Right.
So after Hawaii, the states with the highest quality of life expectancy include Washington State.
Wow.
Doesn't it rain all the time?
Yes, but that's kind of romantic.
Minnesota. I love Minnesota and I love
but
the
it's
Twin
cold.
Cities. It's so cold, you freeze. You can't die.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. That's what it is. They're actually dead, but no one knows it.
California, because, the weather's great. You're probably outside.
Yep.
This one surprised me a little bit. Massachusetts. Most of the people I know from Massachusetts are kind of pissed off.
Yeah. That's funny.
Vermont, really? You look at Bernie Sanders and you go, now there's a guy who seems happy and centered.
Yeah, but there's the leaves in the fall, so I get it.
Oregon, Utah, and Connecticut all have high numbers. I wouldn't have expected Connecticut either.
I wouldn't either, but well, whatever.
And meanwhile, on the low side, along with Mississippi, you got West Virginia, I should say. Louisiana, Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee. I mean, Kentucky, we know, because if you look at Mitch McConnell, he died 6 months ago. Tennessee, Arkansas, Oklahoma, New Mexico, and South Carolina.
Wow.
Across the board. Now, I didn't mention, obviously, all 50 states. You mentioned New York. Let me just check my state, Illinois, where I am right now. What was New York? Do you remember what New York came in at?
I don't remember the number it came in at, but it definitely dropped. It's got to be pretty low because I think the average age was somewhere in the lower 70s, but I'm not going to swear to that.
I can't tell if this is accurate because the map is not sized to my fingers. But it looks like 74.
You have those massive fingers.
That's exactly right. 74.8. Illinois, 76.8 years.
So you beat New York.
Yeah. So honestly, you guys in New York, if you want to live 2 more years, come here. Actually, with climate change being what it is, you're going to come here anyway. You might as well save yourself some time and come down.
I got to tell you, I was in Chicago a couple weeks ago. Oh my God. I forgot what a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful city it is. It really is.
We hung out a little bit. You had a great time and you guys had great weather. So you saw Chicago in its finest.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Like, I pull up to work every morning. I work in Soho in New York City, and I pull up and I park. And every morning lately, I have to honk my horn and flash my headlights to get the rats off of the off of my parking space, because I don't want to get out and have them biting my toes, because
Of course not.
I frequently wear flip-flops to work. And so yeah, one of the things I noticed was how clean Chicago looked.
Yeah.
Weirdly clean for such a giant city.
Yeah, and the national rap is you're going to get shot on Michigan Avenue. You're not.
No, I saw nothing that would disturb me or make me scared there. It was interesting.
Yeah, no, it's a wonderful city with, and by the way, with all the big city problems that any major city has, New York has them, Chicago has them, all those.
Yep.
And the violence problem in Chicago is real, the same way it is in San Francisco and New York. And it needs to be dealt with. Yeah. All right, now this other science and technology story is particularly disturbing to me, and it's kind of layered and complex, but I know you, because you're a great storyteller, you can tell it in a way that will get it and get it quickly.
That will really elongate it and make it so that you fall asleep.
Well, yeah, once I get in the middle and interrupt it. Yeah. But essentially, you have a human being who's been canceled by Google.
Yes, this is a story that was in the New York Times recently, and it's really interesting. So this guy, his name is Mark. He's a young guy, young father. He and his wife noticed that their baby, less than 2 years old, so toddler, had his penis was swollen and inflamed, and it made them nervous. Now, this was in February of 2021, so the heat of the pandemic. And so they called, the dad took a picture of it so that he could, and held his hand there to kind of show it in all its glory, so that he could share it with the doctor and show them exactly what was going on. His wife had called a nurse at their healthcare provider and scheduled what they called an emergency consultation. And they asked her to please send in the video so they could take a look at it and get a sense of what was going on. They sent it to the doctor so he could review them. So she took those, and it did in one picture show his hand there with on the baby's penis so they could see what was going on. The doctor saw it and he said, "Oh, I can see exactly what this is." He prescribed an antibiotic, put the baby on it, and the baby was fine. Here's the problem. They gave absolutely zero thought to what this exchange of digital data would mean for them. The doctor, diagnosed it, baby's okay. But technology companies, and here's the thing, every single time you go on any site, what does it say? Can we access, like, if you want to take a picture of something,
you have to give permission.
You have to give permission to share your photos. And most of the time we all go, yeah, no problem. You share all of that. You share your whatever it is you think it's okay to share. So what happened was Google captured this, and their AI sees, a baby in a baby's genitals and this guy's hand. And so what happened almost immediately, within a couple of days, everything this guy had was shut down. His Gmail was shut down. He had a, I think it's Google Fi or Google Fi. I'm not sure. That was his phone system that shut down. He was a stay-at-home dad who did all of his work from home. So all of his calendars and all of that stuff got shut down. And all of this was turned over, of course, to this, child abuse kind of system that looks into this stuff. The police were notified in San Francisco, and within 2 days, they said this is clearly not a criminal activity. They tried to call the guy, email the guy, but all of that had been shut down, so they couldn't reach him. He couldn't get out to anybody to figure out what was going on. And in the meantime, he said that he tried to call Google, and Google just, all they said is, "We're not restoring your service," period. They didn't say why. He wasn't able to explain anything. And they said they said, "Well, look, there's an enormous problem with child sexual abuse and child porn online. They say it's abhorrent. This is what Google said, and we're committed to preventing the spread of it on our platforms.
That's all well and good, and good for them that they should.
But you have now canceled an individual. He has no access to pictures because they were
doctors.
His pictures were uploaded to the Google cloud.
They're gone. All of his data's gone.
Everything's gone.
And doctors have verified his story. They've been a part of it, and they've said the guy's innocent.
Yeah.
This kind of mistake can happen in this world, and you'd rather have people be overprotective than underprotective. But how would a company with Google's technological abilities, how is AI the final answer here where they go, nope, sorry, you're out?
Yeah. Well, the problem is, sadly, they see thousands of these on a regular basis. And so sadly, they don't have the time to go through everything and decide the merits of the case individually. So I guess the warning would be, doctors, don't ask people to take a picture of anything like that and send it to you. And parents, don't take a picture of anything like that and send it to the doctor. In fact, don't take a picture, even if you're concerned and you want to kind of save it to see how it advances and if it's getting better. You're especially if you share anything to the cloud, it's gonna get looked at.
So what do? You're not supposed to send pictures to your doctor and telemedicine?
You got to do the good old-fashioned trip to the doctor.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. I don't know if you're doing like a live telemedicine thing. If you could like hold the baby up and show, I don't know. I'm not sure what would happen there. But
you want doctors to be able to say this baby looks like it may have been abused.
Well, particularly during the pandemic, you're trying not to come to just unnecessarily go into medical offices and things like that. And so how good is it that the doctor can look at and say, I see what's going on, prescribe an antibiotic, the baby is healed and you're fine. Unfortunately, your personal life is ruined and your digital life is ruined.
Listen, I wish we had some answers for you as to what's going to happen here. Honestly, we'll follow this story because it needs to be followed because it's not something you think about every day.
Right. And we can all be targeted.
The Deep Six, number 4.
We don't talk about politics that much here because you get beat over the head with it all day long, just about everywhere else. But you have an interesting poll. Maybe just give me the results of the poll.
Well, they say the share of people who vote identifying as very liberal, or somewhat liberal on a 7-point scale has dropped over the last 5 years from 34% now to 27%. Now you would think, oh, so now are they identifying as conservative? No, the decline in liberal identification has not led to any increase in conservative alignment, which is actually now, though, people identifying as conservative is now the most prominent ideology, they said, in U.S. politics, which is interesting to me. The data, they said, points to this thing where Democratic voters have drifted toward the middle, while Republican voters have shifted further to the right. So everybody's shifting to the right. The Democrats are just getting, middle of the road. Republicans tend to be going further to the right in general. I think there is a case to be made for a lot of people who don't speak up, just kind of being very middle of the road.
There's no question about it. And I've been preaching about this on the show I do on WLS in Chicago. Mm-hmm. You can stomp your feet and hold your breath until you turn blue or red. And the other side is still going to be the other color. There's always going to be 50% of the country that doesn't agree with your point. And it's the same thing you and I, as parents, did with our little kids. You have to teach them how to settle arguments, not make them worse or just stomp their feet and say, I'm right and you're wrong.
Well, that's the interesting thing. They say the increase in the share of Americans who identify as centrist or moderate has grown tremendously.
And that's where the future has to be. The future has to be the past.
Right.
And the past is that we didn't agree. We've never fully agreed. It's a democracy.
Right. We figure out how to compromise.
We figured out how to get shit done.
Right. Right. Exactly.
And right now we don't do that. So that's really where that is.
So that's actually kind of heartening. It's
encouraging. It is.
Yeah.
The Deep Six, number 5.
We do have a heartbreaking story as we go to item number 5, but it's only heartbreaking and it'll be hard for you to think, if you love dogs like we do, of your doggy this way. Yet the story should make your heart fill with joy. Right. So here's the backstory. You leave your house with a cat.
Right.
You come back 44 years later, the cat doesn't care. You come back 44
minutes
44
later. 44 years, but
44 minutes later, the cat doesn't care. You leave your house with a dog, whether you're gone for 2 weeks or 2 minutes, the dog acts like, I can't believe you're gone. I can't believe you're home. And they just want to love you.
Oh my God, you're so catist.
Yes,
That's not true. I've had cats.
Well, you're wrong.
Who waited for me at the front door. And when I opened it,
you know why? Because they thought you were a can of tuna. That's why they waited.
You don't think dogs think that? The minute I love my dogs. I have 2 beautiful, wonderful doggies.
Dogs are all love. Cats are all apathy.
No, cats are cool. They're just cool. They look at you like, you know what? You don't love me. That's your loss. Whereas a dog lives like, oh, you don't love me. I got to figure out a way to make you love me.
That's right. I'll take the blind love of a dog any day of the week.
You're such a guy. You just want to be adored.
Yeah. So here's the deal. Right. Science has now determined that your dog cries when they miss you.
Yes. And here's the thing, because they're so fluffy, we don't always see the tears, but that's a new study has found that the release of oxytocin, which is this wonderful hormone that makes us feel happy and good and emotional, is contributing to your pup's watery eyes. They say they react this way to people they feel close to. And they also found that pet parents actually feel more for teary-eyed companions, and that dogs have evolved to express that emotion so they'll be cared for. It's the same thing. We talked about this before about puppy eyes. Yeah. Like canines in the wild don't have the muscles that allow that big wide-eyed, oh, I'm so happy you're here, can I have a bone? They don't do that. They have one thing that they do with their eyes, whereas domestic dogs have had the ability to do that puppy eyes thing that, oh my God, it's like looking at a baby. You melt when you look into those eyes, and that is an evolutionary thing. And it's
so when you get home, and your dog's jumping around and going
and
crazy,
crying,
and you look at your dog and its eyes are watering, or you hear the dog, right? That noise. You've heard me make it.
Yep.
And you give that dog a hug. It's no different than hugging somebody in your life that's crying, except they have more fur and they roll around in dead things.
My dog, I have 2 of them. One of them does this really, and I could show you a picture of this. It's bizarre. She has this giant smile. They call it a submissive grin. And basically what it is saying, you're in charge. I love you. You could do everything you want. My dog, she shows her teeth and is just doing this giant grin when I walk in the house all the time.
It's living right.
Yeah. It's like, it's the greatest thing in the world, because, when you have kids and they're little, they're like, mommy, I'm so happy you're home.
Right.
And then they hit like 11 or 12 and it's like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it's like they can't hear your voice. They like you call to them, you tell them, oh, honey, I love you. And it's like, yeah, if they say anything.
Right.
They move on. Dogs never move on. It's always, oh my God, I love you. I can't believe you're here. I'm so happy. Do you have a treat for me?
So what you're saying basically is children start out as dogs and turn into cats.
Exactly.
Awful.
That's perfect. I will say this. If you want to keep your dog happy while you're gone, you should be playing classical music.
Yeah. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Some people put on these audiobooks, which, I guess if you're reading to the dog and you're saying, if you run outside and find a bone, you can share it with your best friend next door. And if there's a cat, you can chase him through and you read, they don't care about that. They were reading Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone to 82 dogs who were like, yawn, whatever. They put on classical music and the dogs were like, Now
Really?
I'm happy. No, and I got to tell you, like, these apps you have on your phone that are like meditation apps and stuff. I found that with my youngest, my puppy, when she was really little and just like, out of her mind, I would put on like the Calm app, say, and I would page down to this long ass piece that was like nature sounds and wind and music. And she would hear the birds making little tweets, and her head would turn. But eventually she would put her little head down on my tummy because she was laying on my bed with me, and she'd go sound asleep. So there are certain things, and classical music is one of them. Nature sounds is another that really calms them. And it doesn't take long. It's like 30, 40 seconds.
Right. And when I think of dogs, I just think, well, they can sleep anywhere at any time that they choose to. But
and
it sounds like
Beethoven knocks them out.
Yeah, they have more going on than I give them credit for. All right, before we get to item number 6, let's review. We gave you great show business and Kim Kardashian slutty little date history. Then we talked about women who are just as horny or more after 40 than they've ever been.
Right. But we found out also that you have never slept with Kim Kardashian, which I find really weird.
Never.
It's like, it's you and it's her. How could that not have happened?
It would be magic, wouldn't it? I know at one point we had a family vacation in her cleavage because there's enough room there. We
Did you
talked
lose
about
any
science.
of the kids?
We talked about science and technology and your average life expectancy and getting canceled by Google. We told you maybe some good news about politics.
Right.
We told you what it sounds like when dogs cry. And finally, inflation is still here. So how am I going to save you money, Patty Steele?
I would like to know that, because I got in a lot of trouble recently because my partner in crime wasn't happy with the fact that I went to Costco and spent way over budget. And I do recall, as I left the house, I said, oh, this is not going to be a big shop. And instead, I came home with enough stuff that I could have bought a car. Well, not really, but close.
But a lot of
stuff.
What if I said to you, I can do the same thing for you. You can buy in bulk, but instead of going to, we don't want to say what store and offer him a free plug, but it rhymes with Costco. So what if I said to you, I can give you any number of sites that you can log on to and you can see which pallet of items you like. Now think of a pallet, a wood pallet.
A pallet is like one of those big wooden things.
Slats of wood.
Yeah, you put in your basement so that things don't get flooded. You put them up on the pallet.
And they're in every factory, and they have giant boxes on top of them. What's in the giant box? Liquidated or returned items. And these items could be broken. They could be perfectly fine. They could be somehow in between. And you're going to buy a blind box listed only by category of all of them.
So can I get a pallet of Manolo Blahnik shoes?
Yes.
I can?
You absolutely can.
Will they be in my size?
Some.
Will the heels be broken off?
Some. All right, let me give you a few of these. Liquidation.com lets you buy consumer product goods and commercial surplus.
Wait. Slow down. I got to write this down. I need to know this. Liquidation.com.
Okay, that's one. Direct liquidation is another one. You could shop by department. There's separate sections for buyers, separate sections for sellers.
Direct liquidation.
And that list of featured manufacturers has names like Mattel, Nintendo, Apple, Samsung, Fisher-Price. There's something
I don't need toys. I need shoes. I need makeup. Keep going.
Well, 888 Lots then is probably not for you, because 888 Lots does everything, including food, but not a lot of clothes and not a lot of Manolo Blahniks.
So what am I going to get, a pallet of hot dogs? I don't know if that sounds safe.
Listen, I can't help you. I'm just trying to get you a big box of shit.
And you don't know what kind of shit it is.
No, there's something
it could literally be shit.
Well, it may be. Blue Lots. Blue Lots is another one that you're going to want to check out. B Stock, as in backstock. That's another one you're going to want to check out, as is Box Fox, which I believe was your nickname in college.
You know what? That's my favorite so far, because I just like the name.
All right, so let's go to one that I haven't mentioned, and it's one that I have seen. It's called Bulk, B-U-L-Q. When I click on the app for Bulk and I go in, it's a smart source for liquidation. And what I can do is browse by category. So I'll give you a category. You tell me what you want to look at.
Okay.
Would you like computers and office, consumer electronics, toys, baby, home and garden, general merchandise, or apparel and accessories?
Home and garden and apparel and accessories, please.
Well, let's go to apparel and accessories and see if you're still interested or awake.
Okay.
They will sell you a pallet, a lot, if you will, of assorted women's apparel, retail price guaranteed to be not less than $2,000 for $753, shipping included.
Wait.
They will sell you women's apparel and women's accessories valued at $2,000 for $630.
Well, how many things are in that? Are these like $2 blouses or are these like $75 blouses?
You could be both. I mean, for instance, you can buy specifically a Nordstrom box, a box of Nordstrom returned items, or you can focus on Target.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, a Target box of men's
quantity
shoes,
over quality.
Yeah, Target box of men's shoes, women's apparel, including Nike, original retail $1,000, $378, shipping included.
Wow.
Women's apparel, is not surprisingly a wider choice than others, but this one seems to be the one you're going to be interested in. Again, this is the Nordstrom box. It includes kids and baby apparel, women's apparel, original value $6,000.
For what?
But today, just for you, I'm going to put you in that pallet for $1,200.
Wow. Here's my question. What's your return policy?
Once you buy it, you own it, baby.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you can always list it online. You can put it on eBay or something.
You know what it is? It's that Storage Wars thing in a box.
Yep. It's exactly
where you buy.
I'm going to buy that storage facility.
Exactly. You buy a
you
locker.
Open it up and it's got nothing but shit.
Got it. It's Geraldo. Right.
Yes.
It's Al Capone's
it's an
fault.
Empty storage facility.
But this is a growing business. It's blown up all over the place. Everybody's struggling with money right now. Save a bunch of money, buy a box of crap. That's going to be my new site.
Here's my deal. What I would do is put together a consortium of people, and we would put our money in to buy this stuff and then divide it up.
Oh.
Now, there's a big thing that's gone on in upstate New York at a bunch of places at town dumps, literally. Mm-hmm. And people have to buy tickets to go to sort through what goes to the dump because people are sending things like really wonderful used clothing and that kind of thing. And so people go in there and they find all kinds of stuff that they can grab. So it's kind of like that. Like if you could put together a group of people and say, okay, there's 10 of us. We're going to spend, $50 a piece or $100 a piece. And we're going to get 1,000. We're going to buy a pallet for $1,000 and divide it up. And whoever fits it,
Yeah.
Then you're, that way you're setting up a big battle.
Like if you've got a girlfriend who's got giant size 12 feet and your tiny little dainty size 6 feet.
Yeah. But as I think about it, I imagine the pallet, all these pallets sitting in my driveway and the people coming up and everybody battling over, I want that shirt.
I can tell you right now, the people that are really going to be happy you got into this business are the UPS guys that have to deliver the pallets. Yeah. So, but I'm telling you, it's a growing business. Take a look at it. While we were talking, I just placed an order for you for a pallet of Kim Kardashian X's.
Ew. You know what? Honestly, can't use that.
Okay, because you're going to have to run a lot of tests. A lot of testing needs to go on there.
Yeah, so, I think.
Well, that's it. That's what we do. It's the Deep Six. It's two friends. It's 6 stories, if you will, 6 categories, if you will, all in 30 minutes, or in the case of this episode, a lot more. An
astonishing amount of knowledge as well is departed. So
yeah, and a box of crap.
Imparted. Sorry.
We bring you entertainment, knowledge, and a box of crap. That's what we do here.
That's it. Yeah.
At the Deep Six. Patty, live from New York. I'm in Chicago. We'll see you and hear you in the podcast world and also on the radio on WCBS in New York and WLS in Chicago. You get the last word.
Oh, God. What's the perfect word to end this with?
Yeah, that's it.
No. Okay. Lots of love.
99. Thanks for listening. The Deep Six. Subscribe, rate, follow, or review at pattysteele.com or cochranshow.com.